Hello, and welcome to episode 17 of The Comic Conspiracy. We're back. We missed an episode last week because of Brock being gone, doing random stuff, having worked 6 out of 7 days for me at Comic-Con. So we're going to resolve...
Hi, I'm Brock, by the way.
Oh, hey, Brock. So we're going to have a hopefully extra long post-San Diego episode here for you today. My name is Ryan Higgins, joined by...
Brock Sager.
Always by Brock Sager. We were going to have one of my other guys, Charlie, here, who's a Comic-Con veteran. Unfortunately, he has something to do, so maybe we'll see if we can get him on the next week or two. He can talk his con experience, because his con experience tends to be a lot different than mine. Well, I guess this was my first time, so...
Well, he also has 3 kids.
He has kids. He likes to line up at 2 a.m. for Doctor Who panels and not be within the first 1,000 people in line. So, yeah. That's his con experience. But, yeah. So, last week, if you didn't know, there was this thing going on last weekend called the San Diego Comic-Con. Hell, at this point last week, I was in the San Diego airport on my way home. So, time flies when you're not at San Diego. Brock, anything interesting happened? Well, I mean, it was just, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday were just so busy when I got back, just trying to get settled and get everything back to business. Thursday was my day off. I think I slept half the day. Friday, Saturday, just hella busy. I had a ton of stuff to do. We had a club thing I went to last night, and then and now it's Sunday, and I'm like, holy crap! It's been a whole week, and I'm already done. So, yeah.
Well, I got con information overload. Like from what most people say, if you go to Comic-Con, you don't actually experience everything because.
I mean, it's a little bit better these days because cell phones and RSS feeds, and you can actually. I'm just sitting there flipping through my phone every couple hours, checking in some headlines. So it makes it a little bit easier, but still,
it's a lot of information.
Yeah.
I mean, I blogged Friday and Thursday and Friday information, and then I couldn't handle blogging Saturday and Sunday. But by then, like the steam kind of was out. Most places had their big announcements on Thursday or Friday. Saturday and Sunday were kind of just little whiffs here and there, but nothing really spectacular.
Well, I've been working at the store since '97, and the former owners were going to the con since 2000. So every year at Comic-Con, I would be the only employee here from Tuesday, the day before Comic-Con starts, because they have the Wednesday preview night, generally through the following Tuesday or Wednesday, because they would stay an extra day or two.
Yeah.
And, so every year I'd be the only one here. And so I got so used to just reading all the news online. But up until a few years ago, there was actually a lot of stuff that would break at San Diego. Yeah. They would break all sorts of new news at San Diego for comic books. I'm not talking about the movie stuff and video game stuff, specifically for comic books. Now, though, it's like there's no new news at San Diego. No. Very, very little comparatively, because I think there's just so much to compete against, and you're better off releasing news on your own, on the DC Source or on the Marvel website or on Image's website, than you are releasing it at the con. Again, because like we're saying, there's 10,000 things happening at any one time. Any news you release is going to totally fly under the radar. Yeah. There's no real point to it. And it's interesting to see how real little new releases and new information came out of the con. I mean, there's a few things we'll talk about, but yeah, generally, I mean, the discussion for Comic-Con is more about the experience over the news, if you will. So, was there anything that, before we get too deep into this, was there anything that kind of caught your eye as you were going through stuff? Because there was a couple things I bookmarked here that I think kind of flew under the radar I wanted to mention. But if there was anything that you...
Well, it's... Like, there was a couple things that came out of the con. I mean, people even came into the store while I was working that were like, oh, I want to hop on this book, or... Yeah. It was a lot of independent stuff. But, I mean, mainly looking at most of the news feeds that was coming in, it was like Marvel was just telling us what the Aftermath of Fear itself was going to be. And
I know they announced that new Defenders book.
New Defenders book. And
they announced
Villains for Hire.
Villains for Hire, which you know what, to this, I still haven't read any of the Marvel new stuff yet. The only things I've seen are the new Defenders book and the Jason Aaron on Hulk, which is like...
With Mark Silvestri as art.
Yeah. I love Jason Aaron. Brock, me and you both love
Scalped is amazing.
But, his run on Wolverine's been okay.
Yeah.
And again, I'm curious to see what he was going to do with Hulk, but he's got a voice that lends itself much better to the Vertigo, the independent side, his small stories than the big superhero books. To me, it hasn't. It's just not the same.
Yeah.
His Punisher run is really good, but again, he's able to do what he wants with Punisher. Having Wolverine kind of in the Marvel universe, he doesn't have the same sort of say on it.
Yeah.
So.
Now they're talking about Battle Scars, which is the stuff coming out of Fear itself. What else was there? Oh, it's comic book related somehow. The Avengers posters, the movie prints for the Avengers came out. Those were staggered as they went.
What's funny you mentioned that, not to get too ahead of myself, but going through the con floor, the Marvel booth, and I'm really not saying this just because, whatever, but that Marvel booth was really dumb. It was this big, black, giant, empty thing with nothing. I mean, last year...
Was it like the WonderCon Marvel booth? Because the WonderCon Marvel booth just had that stage, and...
I don't think Marvel doesn't have a booth at WonderCon, do they?
Yeah, they did. They had the
full-on booth?
Yeah, they had a full-on booth.
It was a giant, big, black kind of stage-looking thing. I mean, last year, all the pictures I saw at WonderCon, they had the throne, they had Odin's throne from Thor, they had the Infinity Gauntlet, they had all sorts of props, all sorts of things to show. This year, there was nothing there. It was really bizarre.
Didn't it just say, Avengers?
Yeah. I think it was supposed to... I read that it was supposed to be the helicarrier Shield's helicarrier, bridge, but it didn't look like anything. So, really bizarre. I don't know if they just didn't get the stuff there in time, if they decided to kind of cheap out on it. I have no idea, but it was really weird. Because the DC booth, by contrary, had so much stuff. They had tons of props from Dark Knight. They had all sorts of new material that hasn't been released yet. They had all these big glass cases filled with stuff. Jim Lee was up on this stage with this huge video monitor over him, live drawing, character designs, and talking about characters, talking about how he does his drawing. Did a couple times a day. There were the freebie tables were on the four corners. I never saw less than 100 people in any of those lines. And I mean, there were a lot of people around the Marvel booth, but I kind of poked around, but I didn't see anything, so I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it was a raffle, because I did see at one point there was a line for something that people had won. So clearly they were doing that, but I didn't catch much else at the Marvel booth. But I might have just missed it.
Even with the news just reading the news coming off of the con, it was DC was very, 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 there was a lot of energy behind it. There was a lot of positiveness, in it. I mean, they were doing a panel every day and releasing, high-res art and all this stuff.
They had the big 52 panels,
Yeah, so it was, there was a lot of stuff coming from DC, and you were getting a lot of information from DC. It was Marvel, it was just kind of we have stuff coming out. Joe Mad's going to do the Avenging Spider-Man book.
Which had already been announced.
Yeah, and a couple other things, but it really Marvel didn't really grab you with anything, even news-wise.
I didn't get a lot of news. But again, this is the thing with DC. Sorry if I'm coughing more. This Jamba Juice is killing me. DC had the 52 thing to sort of... You had 13 comics a day that they could discuss. They sort of had a good discussion back and forth with the fans of what was coming up. Marvel doesn't have a big thing coming, so I just don't think there wasn't a push there for Marvel.
Yeah.
I mean, Image, Dark Horse, a lot of the independent companies, they had things to announce. I'll get into a couple of them here in a minute, but yeah, I mean, I just felt if we're back to the classic Marvel versus DC, who won? I mean, the last time I felt Marvel won was when they announced they got the rights to Miracle Man, which was 2008,
and they've 2 years ago,
and they've done nothing with it since.
Yeah.
So it's well, you won one, Marvel, but you haven't done anything. So,
well, it's funny. I actually had something and completely forgot it as you were telling that Marvel thing. It just seemed like, to me, there was a lot of, DC felt really hype-ish. I mean, especially reading through, watching the panels and stuff.
Yeah.
It was all a lot of hype. And no, that's a good thing.
I was going to say, did you listen to any of their podcasts? Because they actually live podcasted every panel. So
I didn't listen to those. I'm not as in depth with the information.
Well, I have another thing to mention about that, but we'll wait till I actually get into the stuff. So.
But yeah, no, it's. I think it was. Oh, the one thing I was going to say was like Deadpool, jumping on the 1000 bandwagon just randomly. I think Marvel's funny. It was funny in the sense of, oh yeah, we're going to start doing day and date digital, starting with Amazing Spider-Man 666 that came out this week. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, and they're like, we'll start bringing you more stuff as the year goes. So it's like Marvel's
Spider-Man and X-Men.
And X-Men, yeah. So it was kind of like, oh, we're going to get him. We're going to jump ahead of the bandwagon with DC's announcement going day and date digital across the board.
Yeah.
But Marvel's like, oh, we're going to do it now. Where it was just funny.
Well, I mean, I expect by the end of the year everything Marvel will be digital. I know Dark Horse has their app. Marvel has their own thing. DC's with Comixology. So it's kind of like, it's not like there's an iTunes, right? You have multiple Viz and a number of Japanese companies announced, I believe it was called J-Manga, which is their online app. There is no single app for everyone. Yeah. And that can make it hard. I think the companies would do well to get an iTunes style one single app that will allow all users across. Even if they went with iTunes itself, I mean, I don't know if the price is prohibitive because of Apple's costs.
I don't think it's prohibitive with iTunes,
but it's something because I feel splitting the digital across so many. I mean, good for me, good for the comic stores, because if iTunes had comic books, that would be very. I mean, I don't want to say it'd be bad for comic stores, but it would be very convenient for customers. Yeah. Let's put it that way. Well, it's funny. Totally off topic, but kind of on topic with what we're talking about here. BleedingCool.com today released a list of a number of stores that are doing special discounts and deals for the 52, for the DC's 52, that if you order all 52 titles, you get them. Some places are doing them for like ridiculous discounts. Some places are giving you free stuff. For the record, I am in the process of trying to get something done, but I don't want to mention it in the off chance that I jinx it and it doesn't happen. So I'll mention, if it happens, you will definitely hear about it.
Yes, you will.
But besides the point, someone brought up the fact, digital is $150, $152 or something like that. Even if you wait, it's like $108 after the 30 days or whatever. So it's like, people are offering these deals. You can still get physical way cheaper than digital for these comic books. Obviously, this isn't going to apply to everything, but it's a case where the comic book stores have the upper hand because they can dictate their own terms to what they want to charge and do special deals. Yeah. I don't think Comixology is sending you a free T-shirt if you buy a comic books from them. So, just something to think about.
No, and I mean we'll see. Like I'm hopeful for everything that comes out in September. I'm hopeful.
Well, our numbers, I mean, for the amount of people that want to try number ones, for the amount of people that are like, yeah, just put me on every Batman and Superman title, I'll give it a whirl for a year or whatever. I mean, it's staggering.
Yeah.
I don't expect it'll hold forever. I mean, clearly, people are going to lose interest, but DC, I give you props. You've managed to get so many new people to check out your books. And even some of the more hardcore Marvel guys I know, they're jumping in both feet. So yeah, it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, we'll see. But I think the con, it was, from my standpoint, sitting behind the counter at the shop, it was an experience just going through all the news and all the information and stuff.
Sure.
Some of the big things that I really enjoyed coming off of it was the announcement for Ridley Scott's Prometheus, which is the Alien movie that's coming out next year.
Yeah, I paid no attention and have continued to pay no attention to any of the TV or movie stuff. Like, I just, whatever, I'll hear about it at some point.
And then the Walking Dead Season 2 trailer was awesome.
Yeah.
And then also they had the Penguin trailer for Batman Arkham City.
I did see that.
Which was pretty badass. Yeah, with Solomon Grundy at the end. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Now, you're talking Walking Dead. I mean, I don't know if you heard, but I think we talked about this in the Geek Box when we record. Frank Darabont, the showrunner, has stepped down or has been pushed off. So he is no longer on the show, which he was the head guy for Walking Dead next to Robert Kirkman. So curious to see. I mean, his number 2 basically took a spot, which it sounds like that's what the plan was.
Yeah.
But he was a big draw to that show, so it'll be interesting to see. Maybe he just was there for the first year.
He only directed the first episode.
Right, but the showrunners tend to lead the the overall direction of the show and give you a direction for everyone to follow. Stepping down, I don't know exactly if maybe he was just there for the first season, got through Comic-Con, and then left the show, if that was always the intended plan.
That might have been the intended plan, because, I mean, Frank Darabont's always working on...
Yeah, he's working on a lot of stuff.
You know, he's always working on something big, or he's working on, the next big thing, and he's a very, dedicated film director.
Yeah.
So... Well... but yeah, no, I was... Game of Thrones is on for another season.
Oh, yeah.
I heard that panel was fun.
Everything I heard, that panel was awesome. Correct me if I'm wrong, but people that went to that panel got a free copy of Song of Fire and Ice, the first book. They got
Game of Thrones?
Huh? Yeah. It was a Song of Fire and Ice, right?
No, the series is the Song of Ice and Fire.
Or Ice and Fire. Yeah.
Game of Thrones is the first book in the series.
That's the first book was called...
No, it's called Game of Thrones.
Well, all right. I know they got that. They got I believe a T-shirt and a mouse pad, like big swag bags. So that's awesome. Yeah. I'll talk about the panels I went to in a little bit. So there were three. Well. Before that, cool, Brooke, excellent. Is this the first time you've really sat down and kind of followed Comic-Con?
Yeah,
and then this real fashion.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I mean, I didn't do live. Ridiculous. I didn't do live feeds of panels and stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of just.
I mean, I would follow all the live blogging and stuff. But now that, especially with DC releasing the podcast of their panels, I'll probably just follow those now as well, because there's so much. I mean, I still read the live feeds, but go back and listen to all the podcast panels.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting to kind of see the Comic-Con from this aspect, because it is a lot of information. I mean, it is stuff is turning out at such a fast rate.
Yeah,
and it's one of those things where. Was there a lot of animosity down there? I mean, a Marvel editor and a Marvel writer getting into a fist fight in a hotel bar, and one creator from someone knocked over like a big, huge glass fish bowl, and then the guy who plays Lizard in Amazing Spider-Man got arrested.
Well, he didn't get arrested; he got cited.
Mm-hmm.
There was some of that little, backhand or backroom rumoring going on with some people. I know, there was this fight between some of the Marvel guys. I know a handful of years ago, this would have been, 04, 05 maybe, when Grant Morrison left New X-Men and went over to Marvel, or went over to DC. Him and Joe Quesada apparently had a giant shouting match in the middle of the convention, and that got some public. I'm not sure.
And Morrison won, I take it.
Well, he left the company and went to DC and has become their number one guy, or number two guy, I guess. So yeah, he won, I guess. Well, Joe Quesada definitely lost, because they lost one of the biggest writers in comic industry. So, but yeah, this year, I mean, I don't know who that Marvel fight was about, but obviously something happened. It's funny. There's a website called Comics Beat, The Beat. It's a comic blog I mentioned probably once or twice, run by a lady named Heidi McDonald. She had made a comment about this was the year that people just sort of accepted it at Comic-Con. I didn't notice. Well, again, when I get to my stuff, there was one or two things I noticed, but for the most part, people were just like, yep, it's Comic-Con. Yep, it's giant lines. Yep, you gotta wait for everything. I didn't notice anger or resentment or hatred from people at the con towards other con members. I mean, I got bags on both shoulders. I got my giant Mattel bag full of toys, and I just walked and I just ran anyone over that I saw, and no one said a single word to me. No one yelled at me, because it's Comic-Con. You just push your way through, or you're never gonna go. Everyone does it, And my girlfriend, I mean, we went down there, and she's shorter. She's a girl, she's a little bit on the short side, and I could tell she was having a hard time kind of seeing everything and jumping around. So clearly, this is something that being 6 feet tall helps a little bit. But I think for the most part, for long time con goers, it seemed like most people were just like, whatever.
Well, it's one of those things where they're used to it.
Right.
It's like, it's not going to change. This isn't anything new. It's how it is. It's not going to change. Not going to get any better. Could be worse, but whatever. Yeah. So anyway, we need to get to talking about your experience. Well, this is your first time there. Well,
before I do anything, there were three news stories that came out of Comic-Con specifically based around comic books that I felt have not got a lot of press. One of them being the Eisner Awards. I've literally heard no one talking about the 2011 Eisner Awards, so I wanted to go over that real quick. But there were two books that I wanted to mention that are, in my mind, big deals. Well, one of them specifically. Brian K. Vaughan, who's a real popular writer, did Runaways, did Ex Machina. He's only done a handful of books. He's moved over to
Why the Last Man?
Why the Last Man as well. Thank you. He moved over and done film and movies and TV stuff. He worked on Lost and a bunch of other stuff. He is going to release a new ongoing, quote unquote, called Saga: A Family Surviving a Galactic War, with Fiona Staples, the artist. I'm not really familiar with her, so it'd be interesting to see what that is. Again, Brian K. Vaughan has a very, very loyal fan base.
Image?
This is her Image, yes.
Okay.
Has a very loyal fan base. So it'll be good to get those people kind of back into comics, because I know there's a lot of people that he's kind of their
Anchor.
they're kind of the one guy that they follow. He has a very dedicated fan base, and when Ex Machina ended, I don't think those people picked up anything else. So him coming back, it'd be like Jeff Smith releasing a new Bone, and he released that book Razzle, but it doesn't have the same following.
Yeah,
something that these creators don't do a ton of stuff, but they have such a loyal fan base that these books should be published. So I'm excited to see what this is. Also, Jonathan Hickman, who I do like. We talked about Red Wing a couple weeks ago, which again wasn't blown away with, but I did enjoy the first issue. He has two new projects coming out from Image. One called the Manhattan Projects, about the people that created the atomic bomb. And then he has a spy book called Secret, which I believe it's just a miniseries, but I'm not sure if it's going to be... There's contrary reports of whether it's going to be an ongoing title or not. Again, neither of these are big announcements, but like I said... Well, I think the Brian K. Vaughan one is. But this is the sort of thing that I feel has completely fallen under the radar. I saw very, very few people talking about it. No one talking about it on Twitter during the announcements. Very little news about it, so I'm excited for these titles. I hope these books do well.
Yeah, I'll try Saga.
It's cool to get a kind of a different take. It's sort of like Saga looks like a mix between a fantasy and fantasy sci-fi, so it'd be cool to see what they do with that. The other big one is the 2011 Eisner Awards. I mean, clearly the people that were there were excited about it. But
when did they announce that? Is that during the con?
Yeah, it's Saturday night, I believe.
Saturday night?
Which, again, if you're talking Friday, Saturday night, there are 100,000 other panels going on, or parties and stuff. So, there's so much stuff that competed against this. Again, I mean, people have mentioned it, but I didn't see a ton of news about it. So I thought I'd just go through real quick, read a few of what I think are the bigger deal issues. Best single issue, Hellboy, double feature of Evil by Mike Mignola and Richard Corbin. That was a little one shot for Hellboy. Best continuing series, Chew by John Layman. Still got to read that. Yeah. We got a little double shot here that should make Brock happy. Best limited series, Daytripper by Fabio Moon and Gabriel Ba. I think that goes on your one of your top lists for last year, right?
Oh, that's probably my top list for ever. It was an amazing book, but yeah, that's probably my top book from last year.
Yeah. Best new series, American Vampire. Again, so that's Scott Snyder, King.
I've enjoyed it. Scott Snyder's done a really good job transforming, kind of the Americana vampire.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's, I think it lost a lot of steam when Stephen King jumped off, but I've enjoyed it. I keep getting the issues.
One of the things I think that's amazing about that book is my orders basically didn't move after Stephen King left.
Yeah.
People were like, wow, no, this front story is just as good. So we got a little triple play here for DC. Best publication for kids, Tiny Titans.
Nice.
By Alt Baltazar and Franco. I love Tiny Titans. Such a funny book. I'm trying to think of some other stuff here.
Oh, and that one's not going away with the new Rejiggered 52.
Yeah, no. Yeah, their kid stuff is all
the kid
separate.
Stuff is staying.
Yeah. I'm trying to see some stuff here that I'm big fans of. Best graphic album, reprint, Wednesday Comics. I don't know if anyone's seen that DC Wednesday Comics trade paperback or hardcover they released. The thing's the full size of a newspaper. It's a full size hardcover. The thing is beautiful. Buy it.
I still need to pick mine.
I don't know where you're going to store it, but buy it. Best adaptation, Marvelous Land of Oz by Eric Schanauer and
You know,
Scotty Young.
which one was it?
Marvel.
Oh, which Oz one was it?
This is Marvelous Land.
Oh, it's the first one?
So yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
I haven't finished the second one, and which is Return to Oz, and the Ozama of Oz, which is the third one. I haven't read it, but I really enjoyed that first one.
Best archival project was the Dave Stevens Rocketeer Artist Edition, which is something IDW has been doing, where they take the original pencils, the original pencil board pages, and scan them and do in a beautiful, beautiful collection.
They got Romata Jr. They're doing the Spider-Man Romata Jr. one. That was announced at the con.
Oh, is that? And they're doing Thor.
And they're doing the Spirit.
The Walt Simonson Thor.
Yeah, and they're doing the Spirit as well.
Yeah.
Because I had a customer come in and ask about it, and I had seen it, and he was really interested in picking that up when it comes out.
Yeah, yeah. Best U.S. edition of international material, Naoki Urasawa's 20th Century Boys, which, excellent. I actually finally started to really sit down and read it. I've read through the first volume, so that book is awesome. I did like the movies, and the book is just as good, if not better. Best writer, Joe Hill for Lock and Key for IDW. That's no real surprise. Even though Lock and Key has not been a good seller for us in the single-issue format, the trade paperbacks have been phenomenal sellers.
Have you read that?
I have not. You know what? I read the first issue or two, and it didn't blow me away, so I was like, yeah, I'll just pick it up when the trades start coming up, but everyone tells me it just gets better and better as the books have gone on, so... Best writer-artist, Darwin Cook, for the new Parker book for IDW. And just kind of scanning over a few things here. Best cover artist, Mike Mignola for Hellboy. Best coloring, Dave Stewart for Hellboy, and a ton of Vertigo stuff. DC, Vertigo, or DC and Vertigo, Dark Horse, IDW, they all cleaned up this year, as is typical. Best comics related to books: 75 Years of DC Comics, The Art of Modern Myth Making by Paul Levitz. That's that $200, bigger than the Wednesday Comics book. That thing is amazing.
Did you order that for the store?
I did not, because Amazon's, this is again one of the problems with the direct market occasionally, Amazon's cost is about $40 less, or I'm sorry, Amazon's retail is about $40 less than my cost. So you would be stupid to buy it from me. I am more than happy to order it from you, but when you can get it on Amazon for $100, I can't compete against that.
Did you get it?
I do have one. Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome. The thing is beautiful. I need to actually sit down and attempt to read it. Because this thing
I'll have to try and
just incredible.
Get a copy of that or read a copy of that.
The Russ Manning Promising Newcomer Award. One of my new favorite creators, Nate Simpson, for non-player.
He won for non-player?
Yeah, for Promising Newcomers. This guy, I would hopefully be getting more than one issue a year. But, real good. Glad he won. I want to see... It's one of those things where I want to see the guy succeed, but I know Marvel or DC is going to pick him up and throw him on covers or something like that. But I keep doing what you're doing, Nate Simpson. Stick with non-player. I want to see this book finish. Try to do 2 issues a year. I'm fine with it. I think most people are fine with it. Just get the book done. So there's all sorts of others. You can go on the Comic-Con site, and they have the Eisner Award winners. There's a handful of other stuff. I just didn't mention stuff I haven't read or I'm not familiar with, so because I don't have much to say about them. So, looks like some good winners this year.
Do you have any idea why it was kind of under the radar this year?
I don't know. I normally hear so much about the Eisners, and this year, maybe because there was nothing real big or surprising or a real... I don't know. I felt like there was no... I hate to say it, but maybe there was no controversy, so no one talked about it. Mm-hmm. It kind of was like the people that won, I think, were the expected winners. People probably already knew who was going to win going into this, because it was like, these are all pretty obvious choices. And like I said, I don't want to say that no one was talking about it. Clearly people were talking about the Eisners. It's the big comic award for the year, but I think it just gets so lost in the shuffle of Comic-Con.
Do you think they should separate it?
Well, it's funny you mentioned this. I didn't get a chance to go to it, but there was a thing at Comic-Con called Trickster. It was an independent comic con across the street from Comic-Con.
Really?
Yeah. Let me see if I can... I actually should have pulled this up here. They have basically a giant list of all these creators that were able to go through and have this sort of separate comic. I don't want to say it was a convention, but it was a gallery. They had speeches, they had conversations. Let me see if I can pull up a quick list of the artists here. Again, I'm just going to go down and read through. These are people that have stuff here. Mike Allred and Laura Allred, who do Mad Men. Mark Andrecchio, who did Manhunter and a number of other stuff for DC and Image. I'm just Amanda Connor, who did Power Girl. Let's see who else is on this list here that just jumps out at me. Sam Keith, who did The Max. Dave Mack, who did Kabuki. Jim Mahfood, who's done lots of just independent comic work for Image. Fabio Moon was there.
Oh, nice.
Scott Morse, who did Little Gray Man and a number of other small books. Steve Niles from 30 Days a Night. Jimmy Palmiotti, who's Amanda Connor's husband, worked with Joe Quesada and a bunch of other people. Paul Pope did 100%. THB. Greg Rucka was there. Bill Sienkiewicz, who's a longtime comic artist. Dave Stewart. Doug Tennepool, Craig Thompson from Blankets, Jill Thompson. So, I mean, Matt Wagner, Bernie Wrightson, Scotty Young, and many, many more. So all these people had... I mean, these are, again, just the big names that I would recognize straight off the top of my head. I'm sure I know who most of these other people are, just not just by title without what their books are. And it sounds like they want to do more of these. It was just sort of more like a gallery. They had DJs, they had parties and stuff there, but it was... Again, this was my first time, and I really only spent 2 days at the con. I didn't get a chance to go to this, and I would love to see this next year. At least go there for an hour or something, and see one of their exhibits. It'd be real cool to see what they do with this at upcoming conventions, or if they continue it at other things other than Comic-Con. So, yeah.
Sounds like something that would be nice to introduce the Eisners with, where you have this little art gallery, whatever you said it was.
Yeah.
And then kind of the Eisners is the, the pinnacle of that. Because, I do think the Eisners didn't get... Like, I didn't even get any information about the Eisners when I was reading through Comic-Con news. It was like...
Yeah, well, the Eisners are tied in with the San Diego Comic-Con, so I don't think they'll move it out of the con. I mean, it is presented by them, and so they're just kind of run by them. But it would be... I mean, there's no real way, unless they make a second Comic-Con for comic books only, that you would get more press out of it, but whatever. I actually saw a couple interesting numbers that put the amount of comic paneling and dealers at 50% of what was there. I think the problem was you can't judge the one guy selling old figures and the Capcom booth or the WB booth as equal amounts, right? So even though there was 50% comic paneling, 90% of the people were at the non-comic panels. Yeah. So it's just the numbers from a strict numbers game. Yes, you could say 50% of the panels and booths were for comic books, but it's so disproportionate the amount of people.
People are going to Game of Thrones. People are
right.
To Community, Futurama.
Well, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, Charlie, he went on Torchwood on Thursday. I believe the Doctor Who spin-off panel for Torchwood was on Thursday or Friday. I think it was Thursday. And he almost couldn't get in. This was in one of the big rooms. So for Doctor Who, he lined up at 2 a.m. to get in for Sunday's Doctor Who panel, which started at noon. It was preceded by Glee and Supernatural. He was probably, not within the first 500, maybe not within the first 1,000 people in line.
At 2 in the morning?
At 2 in the morning.
Jesus Christ. Did you get the shirt I told you to get?
What shirt did you tell me to get?
I told you to get I went to Comic-Con and stood in tons of lines, and all I got was this last t-shirt.
I'm sure someone makes it. The only big line I stood in, well, I guess this is a perfect time for me to talk about
your comic book
first experience, yeah. So Thursday we got there, and funny enough, even though we didn't go to the con on Thursday or Friday, all my celebrity sightings happened to be on Thursday, walking through the city. Ran into Seth Green, who was handing out ice cream in the back of a truck.
I wouldn't trust that guy as far as I could throw him.
You could probably throw him pretty far.
Yeah.
So, hey, you redheads gotta stick together.
And not that guy.
The cops were shutting him down because I guess they didn't have the proper permits out. They couldn't get the permits, so they had to shut down and move and open it someplace else. And so I got this great picture of him handing my girlfriend a bar of ice cream, but like you could see me like in the reflection of his glasses. It's really creepy. We also saw wrestling superstar Virgil outside, which great internet meme. Wouldn't mean anything to you because you hate the internet. We did see Charlie from Lost. He was also one of the hobbits from Lord of the Rings. What the
Merry or Pippin?
What the heck? God, which one is he? It was Dominic Monaghan, but I can't remember which hobbit was he. It's killing me here. Let me take a look.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I don't know. I don't remember which one he was. He must have been Pippin. Oh, no, he was Merry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, see, I had a 50-50 chance, and I picked the wrong one. So he was going up an escalator while we were or he was going down an escalator while we were coming up, and it's like, hey, it's Charlie. But, it's too late by the time I realized who he was. So, yeah. Dominic Monaghan, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, we just kind of walked the city.
But you did go to the con on Thursday.
Sort of. So
this is the story I love.
So we went to go. I figured we had dinner across the street from the convention at 7 o'clock. So I figured, let's do this. We want to walk through the city, get lunch downtown, get lunch with the crowd, go through here, find a place, just see the site, just see the madness. We'll go and get our badges, and then walk across the street and get dinner. Well, we ended up getting to the con a little bit earlier than we had planned because the Gaslamp district? Yeah, Gaslight district. It's a Gaslight district. The whole downtown shopping area is pretty small, and it's mostly restaurants, so there wasn't a lot of shopping. It was mostly, and there's a few things here and there.
Boutiquing.
Yeah, my girlfriend went into some Betty Page shop and tried on all these 50s style vintage clothing and stuff. That was pretty cool.
Was it like a scene out of a romantic comedy where you're sitting on a couch on your phone and she's just sitting there coming out and twirling around?
A couple times, yeah, sure.
Nice,
of course. But they had when we went through there, we got to the con a little bit early, and I said, well, look, I had to pick up a couple Swamp Thing figures that I'd pre-ordered from Mattel. And so they said, oh, when you pre-order them, you prepay for them online, you just come up to the redemption area upstairs, and you give us your info, and we'll give you the figures. You don't have to wait in line. You don't have to do anything. So I'm like, well, crap, we got like an hour and a half. Let's just go get my figures. We can wander around and see some more crap, and then we'll leave. But we want to actually go into the convention. So I go upstairs. The line is around the corner. So I'm like, okay, well, let's right to the corner. Go to the corner. It's all the way down the hallway, out the door, around the corner, down the outside. We're like standing over by trash bins and stuff like this. I'm like, what is going on? I asked people, I'm like, how long have you guys been waiting in line? They're like, oh, an hour and a half. I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. The long and the short of it is, well, besides the fact that they ended up selling out of figures that they had already prepaid for, I got my stuff, but it was basically like, yeah, it was an hour and a half, almost 2 hour wait. I had to call the restaurant. I had to change a reservation. Fortunately, that wasn't a problem. But it was like, how can they, this line was 1,000 times longer. I could have walked onto the con floor, walked up to the booth, bought a figure, and walked away. The prepaid line, the easy line, get your figure fast, was 2 hours long because they had like 2 people checking stuff. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So.
And didn't they implement this like 2 years ago?
No, I believe this is the first year.
This is the first year?
I believe so.
Because I thought they did it last year, but nobody really knew about it.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because I think that's last year I remember you saying that you could pre-order, but nobody really knew about it, but somebody pre-ordered something last year, but this year they were definitely doing it, so that's why you pre-ordered the Swamp Thing instead of going down to the con floor.
Possibly, yeah. I don't remember what the setup was for last year. But so where I was talking earlier about, the occasional people flipping out. Well, this lady, and then later, this guy who was actually inside the pickup area, these people were just losing their goddamn minds and stuff were sold out. I mean, clearly Mattel is going to give you the right figure. All you do is go, hey, look, I'm only here for Thursday. You guys are shutting down. You're out of the figure. For whatever reason, I can't go down to the con and pick my figure up. Can you just... Here's my name, here's my number, here's my credit card information. You can verify it on there. Ship me the figure on your cost because you screwed up. Yeah. That's all you had to say. But no, this lady was losing her goddamn mind. And it's just like, it's Thursday. Everyone in line is, again, whatever. It's Comic-Con.
Well, that was the night that there was the Marvel editor and writer fight.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Something was in the air. So it's just like, oh, but this lady. And then when I got by one of the side rooms, I could see into the room, and I could see the guy in the corner, and he's just flipping out at the people, and the people were just deadpan, just like, okay, all right, uh-huh. That's how I get when we're talking, Brock. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
What?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's just just ridiculous. This lady was just losing her mind. And again, like I said, if you think this company's not going to give you the stuff, like, you just have to be nice about it and go up to them. I mean, I was annoyed, but I wasn't like. I was annoyed that I was going to miss my dinner reservation. And then when I got it changed, I was like, well, I'm in line. I might as well just stand here.
Did you get it that night?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I go to the room. So we go to this fancy steakhouse. I've got, like, my Comic-Con t-shirt on, like 6 bags, just a giant Mattel bag filled with
You
stuff.
had 6 bags on Thursday alone?
Well, because I had, like, the bag I was walking around with, the backpack Leanne had, and she didn't want to carry it, so I was carrying it for her. I had the giant Mattel bag that had the Swamp Thing figures in them, because these things are not small. I had the 2 bags we got from Pickup. We got 2 of the Arkham City bags, because Warner Brothers gave you a free bag when you came in. It's a giant bag to wear as like a backpack. So I'm sitting here with all these bags, and I'm like, can I leave this somewhere? Because most of it, but you could tell, when we got there about 7:30, it was mostly random people, but by about 8:30 when we started to leave, it was like all con people.
Yeah.
So, because it was all the professionals leaving the con, because the people standing next to us, I could hear what they were saying, but they were with some company, but I couldn't make out what company, but they were talking Marvel and DC stuff, so some licensing company. But you could tell we're all bigwigs, so all marketing people are ad people. So, yeah. I mean, that was exciting stuff. Friday we did the zoo. And we did the art gallery there. So, again, we just went way far away from the con. The zoo's amazing. I recommend if you go down to Comic-Con and you want to get away for a day, go to the zoo. Real fun. Not quite as busy as Comic-Con, but still pretty damn busy.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people there. And you could spend a whole day in that zoo. It's huge. But we're not a zoo podcast, so let's move on to Saturday. So Saturday, I got in line about 7 a.m., 7:15, because the goddamn Panera there didn't open until 7. I thought it opened at 6. So I went and got some breakfast and got up early and waited in line for the Attack of the Show, Sanctuary, Being Human, and community panels. So, Brock, I know you were excited for me to go to this community panel.
I was like, you're actually going to the community panel. Awesome.
And again, this is not actually in the convention center. This is one of the hotels outside the convention.
Yeah.
So I didn't even hit the con floor until 4 o'clock on Saturday. Right after the panels, after lunch, after.
So wait, so they stack all these panels together, so you kind of are in line for one thing?
Right. So the way the panel rooms are set up, I don't have my book here, so I can't read you off all the panels, but they would do things like back-to-back panels were 3 or 4 DC panels, or 2 DC, 2 Marvel panels, all in the same room. Futurama, Simpsons, Family Guy, American Dad, all back-to-back, right? This was Sanctuary, Being Human, 2 sci-fi panels back-to-back. Some of the rooms, like Hall H, was all movie. Hall H is the big movie one. Supernatural, Doctor Who. Okay, they tried to at least put the convention together, so more than likely you're going to be there for more than one panel. Because if you want to show up for the Kevin Smith panel at 6 o'clock, you need to be there at 7 a.m. when they let people in, because the odds of you getting in are very difficult.
Yeah.
Even though when the community panel ended, a lot of people left, they were replaced by people in line for the next couple panels, which was Frank Miller and was it Frank Miller and Joss Whedon? I don't remember who was out. It may have been Joss Whedon.
Frank was announcing his new book. Was it Holy Terror?
Yeah, well, I mean, it had already been announced, but he was talking about it. So there was big groups of kind of shifting, but again, you might as well just get in line, get in there at 7 a.m., slowly move up. I mean, we got perfect seats. We were like 10 rows back on the aisle, done. Awesome seats. For being within about the first 500 people, because everyone rushed. We went far left and got excellent seats. So yeah, Attack of the Show. I think the show's stupid and awful, but in person they're actually really funny.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Sanctuary is a show. Ryan Scott from the Geekbox, his wife April's a really big fan of Sanctuary, and again, I never heard of the show. I don't know how I missed it, but the panel was really cool, and I do want to watch the show now. So I'll probably start watching that thanks to Sci-Fi and April and the panel.
Yeah.
Being Human, I love the American version of Being Human. They had the full cast there, talking about a lot of stuff. Talking about how season 2 is going to very heavily from season 2 of the British show, because it's a remake of a British show. And then Community was, of course, Community was awesome. It was everyone but Alison Brie, who is Annie.
Yeah, the blonde. Or
yeah,
no,
the young girl.
The young girl, yeah.
Brunette. Annie's boobs. The monkey was there. Brock, I know you don't know what this is.
I haven't gotten up to the monkey yet.
This is season 2 stuff. So they were talking season 3. Chevy Chase is a total whack job.
You didn't know this already?
Well, even worse than I thought.
Have you ever seen Caddyshack?
Oh no! What I was going to say is he is more normal. He is more normal in Community than he is not acting.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was maybe playing up being weird or what the deal was, but it was.
Was Joel McHale hilarious?
He was actually pretty subdued. The people that got a lot of the people that got the big reaction was Danny Putty and Donald Glover.
Danny Glover?
No, not Danny Glover. Donald Glover.
Donald Glover's son, yeah.
Is it his son?
Yeah.
Is it?
I believe so.
To IMDb.
To IMDb we go.
Yeah, I don't think. No, his father is not Danny Glover.
Not Danny Glover.
No. Yeah, no, it's just. He is, despite rumors, not related to actor Danny Glover. Yes, I never thought he was. Yeah, so Abed and Troy.
They were the ones that got the biggest blow.
Because they're the kind of geeky, Joel McHale's a good-looking,
normally you
suave.
finish the show with them.
Right.
So it's like, they're always the outro. So there's definitely a following there.
Right. And Troy and Abed are obviously the more relatable to the average con goer than Joel McHale, who's the good-looking, attractive, suave guy, right? So
did he have a drink with him?
I don't think so.
Because that guy's busy.
He's in that new
Spy Kids 4D.
Kids, yeah.
Does the soup
every day.
Soup every day.
Yeah. Or every week, I mean.
Yeah, every week he does the soup, and then it's what else does he do? He's on Community. Half the time he's on a daytime morning talk show talking shit to him.
Yeah. So cool stuff. They didn't give away too much stuff, but they did give away these Community, like Comic-Con exclusive variant, like DVD slipcases for season 2. So that's cool. It comes with like the Christmas episode characters. So I don't know if you've seen that. They do.
I haven't seen anything.
I mean, if you've seen the previews for it, they do like it's the old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer claymation stop motion. Version of the episode.
I think I caught a glimpse of that episode one evening, but didn't watch it because I wasn't actually into Community at the time.
Yeah. So they did a little DVD slipcase of all the characters from that. So
nice.
Yeah, really cool. Again, we're talking 4 p.m. by the time I did anything involving comics, and actually that's not true because we started at the far left end. So by the time we got into the convention, it was. There was a small artist alley area that we went through, but again, the small artist alley, I'm usually not too interested in that. I did buy, however, the first volume of Usagi Yojimbo by Stan Sakai. He was there. He had no one really in line. He was signing. He had like pre-sketches in the books, and I had him personalize it, and he drew another sketch in the book. And it was like, cool. I've always wanted to read this book. I've got all the volumes here at the store. Hey, cool, he's right here. Excellent. I'll buy and give him the money directly. And so this is the only comic I actually bought there. It's the first thing I did right when I walked in. But other than that, we're going through the Capcom booth and all the different video game panels. We only made it close at 7. We got about 2/3 of the way through the convention. And that was pretty much just walking.
Yeah.
It was almost no stopping. So 3 hours, and we didn't even see the whole thing.
Did you bring some baby powder?
No, I didn't bring any baby powder.
Should you have brought some baby powder?
No, it was fine. Again, like I said, you just walk. Leanne grabbed the back of my bag. I just power. You just walk, and people have to stop or they get run over. But like I said, like no one cares because everyone else is doing it too. There's nothing you can do about it.
Now, did you get stopped for your celebritydom on the Geekbox or?
Not once. Thank you. Not once. No one recognizes me or cares about me. There's real celebrities there. So
you're a celebrity.
No, I'm not.
Dude, I had a couple people come in during the con while the con was going and say, "Hey, I listen to the podcast."
Yeah, we get that. That's fine because we can't leave here. But no one recognizes me. It's all right.
What, you're afraid somebody's going to go, "Right, I know you." You just bolt? Is that what you're afraid you're going to do?
No. The only time I've had anyone actually come up to me was they were an employee at the Nintendo booth at WonderCon.
Yeah.
And they were like, I was talking to someone, and they're like, "Excuse me, are you from the Geekbox?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am." And they're like, "Oh, hey, awesome! I'm a big fan." I'm like, "Cool." And that's the only time I've ever had it happen outside the shop. So, yeah. But hey, people at Nintendo are working. Oh, there was another big news story I forgot to mention. Speaking of WonderCon.
Oh, yeah.
There is a good chance that WonderCon may not be in San Francisco anymore. Let's segue back into this for just 1 second. The big rumor flying around on Sunday that I had heard, and Chuck, I'm going to butcher his last name, so I'm not even going to attempt. The guy that owns Mile High Comics. A lot of people talking that WonderCon is moving out of San Francisco to Anaheim for at least a couple years because they're doing some construction on the Moscone Center. So WonderCon being the big con in San Francisco.
The North, yeah.
Owned by Comic-Con. So that would suck balls.
Yeah.
I love WonderCon. I've been every year since I've moved here, with the exception of like only maybe 2 or 3 times. The year I had the fire at my apartment.
Because that happened like right before WonderCon.
That was the Saturday of Comic-Con.
No.
Or WonderCon, I mean.
No, it wasn't the weekend before?
No, it was the same weekend.
Oh, okay.
I was going to go up on Sunday. Or I was going to go up I was thinking on Sunday. The first year it moved to San Francisco, I didn't go. And like one random year that it was in Oakland, I didn't go for whatever reason. Maybe the first year or this year, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I love WonderCon. And so they're doing construction on the Moscone Center, which is where they have it. And the rumor is to sort of appease Anaheim, because they wanted to move Comic-Con to Anaheim. This was a big rumor a year or two ago, that they're not going to move Comic-Con, and so they said, well, we'll give you WonderCon since we can't have it in San Francisco because of this construction, because basically every date is booked up.
Yeah.
And so Comic-Con's like, or WonderCon, they're like, sorry, WonderCon, we don't have a date for you. I think they should move to the San Jose Convention Center. That's 10 minutes from here. That's not quite as big, but still a really, really big size convention center.
Even if they moved to Oakland.
No one wants it to move back to Oakland.
I would prefer it in Oakland than Anaheim.
I don't know. I would actually probably just say go to Anaheim. I'll see you in 3 years. I don't want to go to Oakland. It was rough when it was in Oakland. It was not the best part of Oakland.
How old were you when you went to Oakland? And it was rough.
I mean, I've been to Oakland since.
Yeah, I understand. But when it was WonderCon.
When did it move? 2000? 99? So I would have been like...
You
18?
weren't even legal drinking age yet.
Yeah,
of course it's going to be scary. Once you can drink...
It's scary now.
Stuff doesn't really scare me.
And Brock, thank you. Even though I... continuing our stuff for Saturday, after we left the convention on Saturday night, I did get to go to the DC Universe Online fan appreciation event. I was able to get tickets for that, which was like a giveaway thing, and I got some free swag from them. And even though I did not get rip-roaring drunk like Brock wanted me to at Comic-Con, I did enjoy a fine Sam Adams from the lovely state of Boston, and attempted to not vomit everywhere in terror.
It's the Sam Adams.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, I'm not a big drinker, so. But I figured, and I texted you pictures of me drinking, so I was like, there you go, Brock. You can now be happy. You have now corrupted one of the few pure souls on this earth, so.
Oh, don't cry. Down the end of the road when, you know, all comics are digital and nobody wants to come to the shop.
I'm going to be drinking a whole bunch.
So we're getting you ready for it.
Getting me ready.
Little by little.
The DC thing was fun. I couldn't hear.
Now, this was the DC Universe Online thing?
Right,
so there was only
video game.
There was only, 5 people there, right?
Whatever, dude. That place was packed. packed.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay, hold on.
If barely anybody's playing.
Free food, free alcohol.
Yeah, okay.
Free swag.
Open bar, dude.
Open bar. That's all it takes to get a place back to Comic-Con. So I don't want to go to this, but it has an open bar. I'll see you in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, I texted people and I'm like, we got some extra passes. Open bar. They're like, I'll be right there. So I mean, they talked about the game, gave away some free swag. I couldn't hear shit because they were doing it over these crappy house speakers, and you couldn't hear a word anyone was saying.
And nobody knows how to project.
Because everyone was talking, and the place was really loud, so it was like, whatever. But it was cool to hear some stuff and see all the video from the upcoming stuff. I mean, I do play DC Universe Online a little bit. It is a fun game. I don't play the end game stuff, but I do like the leveling parts, because I do like to do the missions, which they are fun. Yeah.
And you also try and play it enough to make sure that your lifetime account feels like it's worth it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I jump on at least every day or every other day to do the little daily little things you can do. And then I try to jump on, on the weekends once or twice here and there and try to actively play longer. Even though I'll probably end up talking about this on the Geek Box when it happens. It's more video game related, but it is DC. They're doing what's called a mega server, which is where, I don't know if I've ever explained to you, I play Star Trek Online a little bit as well, which is another game. And what they do is instead of having all these multiple servers where people play all these different things, they basically take it so the first 500 people create on one server, and the 501st person through the 1,000th person goes on like a duplicate version of that. And if you log off and log back in, you go. So it's like you can easily team up with other people, and you don't have to worry about running around and making new characters. Everyone can play together, so it makes it a lot easier, and I'm excited for that to come out. So, yeah.
And then what did you do Sunday?
That was Saturday, and then Sunday was just, we started at the other end of the con, worked our way back around. I mean, we went through the ghettos. There was the comic book section and all the dealers, and that's when I first heard about the WonderCon thing. Made it back all the way to the end, came back around, tried to pick up a few things, but missed out on a bunch of specials. Just, there was a line for free swag at the WB booth that ran the length of the convention center. The convention center is a mile long. It ran. We're walking, and we're like, oh, there's the line, oh, there's the end of the line. Oh, wait, no, that's just a break in the line because they have to let people into the bathroom. The line keeps going, and we try to get in line. The guy's like, no, the line's behind you. I'm the cutoff. I'm the last official person in line, but if you want to try, you can get in line behind me. The line keeps going and going and going. There was like 3,000 people in line. It was ridiculous. I'm like, no,
maybe
thank
they
you.
should just like get cannons and shoot free swag in the air and have it explode and people catch it.
There would be a riot if they did shit like that. You kidding me?
Yeah, but that'd be a lot better than standing in line.
I don't know. It'd be a madhouse.
I don't know. From what I hear, the only day I want to go to Comic-Con, if I ever go, is Wednesday preview night. That's
when there's only 50,000 people there?
Yeah, only 50,000. I can deal with 50,000 people.
Not 150,000?
150,000 or 250.
Well, and what I was saying previous in previous episodes and off the podcast was I was expecting this to be like a whole nother level of crazy. So, I mean, I've been to WonderCon, and I've seen WonderCon get slowly busier and busier and busier. Clearly, I've been to lots of concerts and stuff like that. So I'm used to these crowds. But for some reason, I always envisioned Comic-Con as being like the next level of crazy from the descriptions. And while it was busy, there's still, at the end of the day, is only a physical amount of people that can be in one room. So by about 4:45 on Sunday, it was manageable. It closed at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, like, the last 15 minutes, you could all go, hey, look, I can see these booths that I couldn't see at any other part of the convention. It is manageable. You just have to be aggressive in your walking, and you have to, it's like, carry a big stick. Well, this is carry a big bag. Give yourself space. Make room for yourself.
Make your own 3-foot
Make your own space.
Bubble.
Right, exactly.
You should go as Bubble Boy next year.
I just had this giant bubble.
This bubble, but you can store shit in it.
Just move it around.
Just open just put it in here. Just put it in right here. Well,
they had like some guy, I didn't see him, but there were rumors, I heard people talking about there was some guy in a wheelchair who had a TARDIS, or a Dalek, I'm sorry, over him, one of the creatures from Doctor Who. Uh-huh. And it's like, cool costume, bro, but you take up like 10 square feet. Like, don't go around the convention center like this. Stay out front. Stay outside.
Well, from what I hear from a lot of people is the cosplayers is part of the problem.
It causes. Well, I noticed two major clog points. One would be when the sexy stormtrooper and Morrigan from Darkstalkers and the gaggle of slave Leias stopped in the middle of the con floor to take pictures.
Yeah.
Because 5,000 fanboys jump out of nowhere with cameras and try to take pictures, and if an opportunity presented itself, I just would have walked right in front of all of them. Like, fuck you, you're in my way, get out of my way. I didn't see it often, but I could see it happening outside of where I was.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, look, they've just created a giant jam because they're taking pictures of cosplayers. The other thing is the video games. Capcom had a huge screen showing Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom, which is the new fighting game they have. And, I mean, you could see that thing from 2 rows away. And people just stood there staring at the screen. I mean, there was easily 500 to 1,000 people just standing in aisles. If you had any booth within 2 or 3 booths, any direction of Capcom, no one was ever going to see your stuff because you physically had people just standing in front of your booth, looking up, watching the fights.
Yeah.
And that causes a major problem. They have video games there, and they have lines to play the games. And there's going to be 20, 30 people in each line, and there's 50 screens. So you're talking a couple, between the people watching and the people playing, you're talking at least 2,000 people basically in one booth.
Yeah.
And it causes just this massive swelling that you can't get to. Nintendo was smart. They moved their thing to a whole nother room in a separate hotel.
Yeah.
So there's this giant room. You go in, it's all Nintendo stuff.
Yeah.
Excellent. Capcom, get your shit off the con floor and get a whole room for this stuff.
Yeah.
Sega had one in one of the in one of the open areas on the streets. So not at a hotel, but in one of the buildings downtown.
Oh wow!
So a block and a half from the con.
They leased a space
right,
that was
right.
It could have been an old Borders.
Yeah, whatever it was. So I mean, you're going to see more and more of that because there again, like I said, there's only a physical amount of space you can have in the convention.
Yeah, because
unless you put a second row, a second level for con floor, there's only so much room.
Yeah, because it's almost when I was at WonderCon this year, for me, first time at WonderCon. But when I was at WonderCon, that was part of the problem was all those damn cosplayers. And I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. You're awesome. You're amazing. You do some amazing things with putting those costumes together and making them authentic and all that. But get out of my fucking way.
Well, so I've gone to Fanime, which is the big anime convention they have, the Fan Art Anime Convention in San Jose. They get about 15,000 to 20,000 people. It's a really big crowd for what this is.
Yeah, those.
Most, if not all, of the cosplayers stand outside.
Yeah.
Because there's a big open area, there's a fountain, they have all the shaded area for you could take all the pictures out there. Easily 80% of the cosplayers are out there. At Comic-Con, it's really not like that. They're all on the floor because that's where the people are. Yeah. They need to make a dedicated area for cosplay.
Like a petting zoo.
But, sure, basically. But the problem is this. Since the Convention Center for San Jose is in such an industrial and building area, because even though it is in San Jose as well, they have a very opening and inviting front area.
You mean San Diego?
No, it's San Jose.
So, okay.
For Fanime.
Oh,
so there are places for the cosplayers to go.
Yeah.
Fanime also has numerous entrances from the back side of the building, the side of the building, and the front. I've never walked through those front doors at Fanime. I've only ever come through the side doors or the back doors. WonderCon or Comic-Con, there are only I guess there's one entrance from one of the hotels that's physically connected, but there's 4 or 5 entrances from the front. But there's 100,000 people standing outside.
Yeah.
There's no open area for the cosplayers, so they're all relegated to inside the convention center,
Yeah.
or the open area for registration, which there's still 1 billion people there. So there's no dedicated area for cosplayers, and that does cause a huge problem. Again, congratulations, your Morrigan costume looks awesome, but your 10 feet wings really fuck shit up.
Yeah.
So I'd rather you not be here and 50 other people can be in the place that you're standing.
They can make this. They can pick a corner right, and map out a certain area and just line the walls with green screens. So you can go in and take a picture with like Leia, or you can go in and take a picture with that Dark Stars chick, or take a picture with a stormtrooper, and then add your own background. Right? At your home with your illegally downloaded Adobe Photoshop. That's what they should do.
That'd be great.
Because the thing is, I mean, I understand, it's part of the atmosphere, but again, I think that's part of that is a problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
well, the con is fine when you have 10,000 people all moving in one direction. People generally obey the rules of the road. You're on both sides. But when you have, it's a traffic jam.
Yeah.
You have a person that stops, and you have to clear an area in front of them so people could take pictures, and you get 50, 60 people bust out their cameras to take pictures.
I feel like that ant in that Bug's Life movie where the thing falls in front and he screams.
You don't know where to go. There's nowhere to go. So
is that when you start shooting? You instead of whipping out your camera, you whip out your assault rifle and start laying
I mean, if an opportunity presented itself, if there's one person, I kind of tried to make my way around. No active place allowed me to just walk in front of people while they're taking pictures of these cosplayers. But I easily would have, because it's like, it's you or me, and I'm not stopping. So I'm walking directly through you. I'm going to totally photobomb you and jump in the front and be like, blah, or jump behind you and flip you off as people are taking pictures, So, because, there's nothing else you can do. It's just so annoying.
We need to just let you loose one day. Just let you loose. Just let you do everything that you want to do.
Oh, God.
Just let you do it.
Oh, God. I've been bad on the internet the last week, so I need to not do that because, yeah. Well, one thing I can talk about, which I will not talk too much about on the convention, or on the podcast about the convention, but if you want to, I'll tell you where to go to follow the conversation. I don't know if you saw any of this, but there was a girl who was cosplaying as Batgirl who went to numerous DC panels asking why there are not more female characters and creators involved in the new 52
I
stuff.
heard that there was a little blurb in the first panel, Thursday's panel, about some girl dressed as Batgirl asking why there wasn't females, and there was the running joke, I guess it started out of that panel, where what can DC do to improve themselves? And someone's like, hire more females. Yeah.
It started there, but it rolled out that she was asking at every panel, and it kind of became this pretty big talking point. In fact, so much that Dan Didio and Jim Lee, the co-publishers of DC Comics, put something on the DCUO blog the other day saying, hey, look, we hear you guys. We have many female creators that work for DC. We approached many others. We are going to have many female creators involved in DC Comics. Don't worry, right?
Yeah.
Part of the backstory to this is that numerous people mentioned this. Gail Simone, who's one of the writers for DC Comics, came out and sort of was like, hey, why are there so few female creators? She kind of got this ball rolling a little bit. She was told and publicly talked about this on her Twitter and Facebook pages that, oh, hey, look, numerous female creators were asked, but since there was a very short lead time on a lot of these titles, they were either busy and weren't able to do it, or they are working on projects for DC, but they're not coming out in this first wave. They're coming out in later things. And so I think most people, myself at least, were like, okay, cool, this matter's closed. But the push at DC at Comic-Con, these panels, they started getting really heated. There was some back and forth, especially with Dan Didio, who is, he doesn't take shit. He'll yell at you right back, right?
Yeah.
So, he was getting pretty aggressive back with these people, but again, it's because the question's already been answered. There are many females involved in DC Comics, and they're working on many things. You don't need to ask this because we've already answered this. But people kept pressing the questions. So he kind of got a little belligerent. I know at one point, apparently I didn't turn my phone off. I know at one point, Grant Morrison said, hey, what do you want? Is there anyone in the audience that wants to submit or who wants to work for DC Comics? Are there any women? And a ton of people raised their hand. He's like, all right, submit work. We can't hire people when 95% of the people that submit work to us are men. So when 95% of our employees are men, that's why.
Yeah.
So it's like, plus you have a lot of female creators, and I'm not trying to be sexist about this, but let's take Batman for example. Are you going to hire a comic creator that writes slice of life web comics to write Batman, or are you going to hire a comic creator who writes crime noir, dark stories to write Batman?
Depends on the story I want to tell in Batman.
Who is DC going to hire?
DC's going to hire the crime person.
Right.
Over the lovey-dovey shit.
Who is writing the slice of life web comic?
Women.
A woman. Who is writing the hard-boiled crime drama?
A man.
A man. This is not a sexist thing. This is a knowing your audience thing, right? Colleen Doran is a popular female comic creator who does lots of... She's a beautiful artist. She does lots of fantasy-type stuff. She's thrown around a lot as why won't you hire her? And it's like, well, what do you want her to work on? You want her to work on Superman? That doesn't work.
Yeah.
You get things like Strange Tales or the Bizarro books, some of these anthologies that Marvel and DC done where they let independent creators go hog wild. As much as I like the artist Seth, I don't want him working on a Batman book ongoing. It would make no sense.
Yeah.
But he can do this little short story for DC or for Marvel in their anthology book, and that's cool because it's something different. But these creators don't work for the ongoing books. The long and the short of working for DC is that you're working under very strict deadlines. You really have no say in your story for the most part. It's all editorial controlled. You are writing and drawing to keep a character alive that that has been around before you were alive and will be around after you're dead. So it's like these aren't it's just anyway.
So where does the internet come in?
The internet comes in with this. The internet comes in with this.
Super. Oh, you know why? It's because Superboy Prime came out in Teen Titans this week.
God.
That's why you've been...
Am I Superboy Prime?
Yeah, you're Superboy Prime this week.
I love Superboy Prime.
You're an idiot for liking that guy.
So a lot of this conversation went on to the Comics Beat blog, which I mentioned earlier. There's a couple really long threads on there, which I have participated in in a very Superboy Prime fashion.
Oh, no. What did you do?
I haven't done anything.
No, what did you type?
What did you do, Ray?
Besides misspell beans.
I don't know why. My phone doesn't like to spell the word beans for some reason. I say cool beans, and it always comes out cool brains or something when I say it to Brock.
Cool something. I don't know. The only reason I knew you were saying beans is because when I typed in your misspelled word beans was another word on there.
So, there are many people who were like, yay, this person questioned authority, and, we're so happy. We're going to get female creators working for DC, and it's like, they already are. This has already been announced. You're pressing a matter that doesn't need to be pressed. Why, do you want women to work for DC to fill a quota? Or do you want quality? I'm not saying the men are quality, and the women aren't. What I'm saying is that, it doesn't make sense to hire women just to hire women. That doesn't get you anything. Marvel created, a lot of people used Girl Comics, which was a miniseries that Marvel created, and I'm like, how awful is that you have to segregate the women to a series called Girl Comics? Like, no, I want...
Well, like X-Women.
Well, you mean that's the Milo Manara book.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about? He's a guy.
I know, but it's X-Women.
Oh, well. Yeah, it's just, to me, I don't care if you're white, black, Asian, male, female, straight, gay. If you're writing the book, as long as you're the correct writer for the subject matter, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I
have a question. Does a writer have a sex?
Does the writer have a sex?
Does a writer have a sex?
Well, obviously.
No.
They're either male or female.
Writer is a writer.
Well, of course.
Right, just like an actor is an actor. There's no... now it's actor. It used to be actress. But there's no writress.
Right.
It's a writer. I mean, whether people are hired to do a job based on what they go towards. If you have somebody who draws like Archie, they're going to be hired to do Archie comics. If you have somebody that draws a very dark style, you're not going to hire them to do Archie comics.
Exactly.
If you have somebody who writes, really, really well, stories that are really good in the sense of like one issue, one shot kind of slice of life, like you said, the webcomic girl might go, hey, we have a story arc when DC Comics Presents that comes out. We want you to tell this story about,
absolutely.
This character. Go with it. If she writes a male character, do I give a shit? No. It's the fact of the matter is that a writer's a writer.
Right.
Whether or not DC, there's this imaginary number that people seem to want to hit with.
Right.
Like you, Ryan, where's the girl that works here? Dude, you are so sexist. There's no women working in this store.
I don't think my girlfriend would allow me to hire a girl
And
here.
that's the double standard, right? But it's one of those things where, really, we need to argue about this shit? They're doing things. Women are in the workforce. They're doing jobs that men are doing. They're doing them better than men in some cases. But the fact of the matter is just because they're not on the front wave doesn't necessarily mean that they're not there.
Well, it kind of comes down. I mean, the example I used a couple times when I was talking to my girlfriend and other people about this, it's like, how many men work at Victoria's Secret, right? I mean, maybe
straight men.
Well, I was going to say maybe a bad example because it's clothing, but I mean, it's not clearly not a parallel. This is a straw man argument, if you want to use that phrase. But I still think it's apt. There are certain people that tend to do better at certain things. You're not going to get a lot of women that are going to want to work for Marvel or DC that are professionals.
No.
Because, I mean, you have all these fanfic writers, like whatever, they don't count because they're not real writers. It's fanfic. Fanfic's not real. But, when the majority of the characters are male, aimed at men, created by men, you're not going to have a huge female audience. So if 10 or 20% of your creators are female, it's probably because 10 or 20% of your readership is female. If DC could make that 50-50 and created a whole line of books that attracted women, awesome. But it is unlikely that they're going to be interested in writing or reading Superman and Batman. I mean, that's just the reality of it. There are so many talented female creators, so many talented comics created or largely run by women. Karen Berger worked for DC for a long time. Diane Nelson, head of DC Entertainment. I mean, two of basically the four most powerful women or two of the four most powerful people at DC are women. So it's like there's your 50%, right? It's like it's just
Stop. You're gonna shoot yourself in the foot.
Oh no, I already shot myself in the foot like 20 times on these internet threads. But it's like it's just I think there is it's a stupid argument in my mind because again, like I said, DC has already stated on numerous times that we already have many women that are going to be working on upcoming comics.
It's people jumping on the bandwagon when the bandwagon is no longer around.
And there's even something that's worse than this is continuing what a lot of people have called like the entitlement of fandom. The fans feel that they are entitled to know all the backstory practices of these companies, that they have a say in what these companies publish. It's the only thing you can do is vote with your wallet. If you want more women to work in DC Comics, then don't buy any DC Comics because that's the only way that anything is going to get changed. It's just you're not going to move. Complaining to people at conventions is not going to get your point across.
No.
Because you're just going to, if you're arguing with them, they're just going to argue right back at you. So that's kind of where I was going with this, is that it's this extreme fan entitlement thing that just infuriates me because, and I hate to say it in a lot of cases, if you get people saying you have to do this, what do people tend to do?
The opposite.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say it's conscious, but, a lot of people are saying
it's reverse psychology. It's
sure,
do this, and that's the thing is it all depends on how you present your case. I mean, if people are presenting their case where this is, this is new knowledge, there hasn't been an answer to the question, and everyone's kind of waiting to see what's going to come out of it. That's a different story, but it's over. It's like the Black Civil Rights thing. It'd be like somebody trying to have a Million Man March the week after the Million Man March, right? Where it's just like you're coming to the party late here, pal.
Well, and that's what I was kind of saying. I mentioned this once or twice, where it's like I have no problem if you ask these questions, if you make these comments, but when the question's already been answered, like you said, it is a fan. At these Q&As. The fans that go up and ask these questions should be educated on what they're asking because, man, do fans ask horrible questions at cons. And it's like if you're asking questions that have already been answered 1,000 times, you need, do a little bit of research before you go up and make a fool of yourself. Also in the case of DC, there are many creators where The books have not been solicited. The ink is probably not dried on the contract. They can't announce things until they're ready to be announced.
There's a lot of legal stuff that goes on with
so if they're like
contracts.
We have 20 women working on books, but we can't announce them yet because they're not ready to be announced. We will announce them when they're ready. And so and my question, was all these people flipping out? Are they going to come back and apologize to DC when all this happens? Of course not. They're going to have moved on to some other controversy.
But again, it's playing devil's advocate. Is DC going to apologize for anything that they fuck up? Not necessarily. I mean, does Apple apologize for your bullshit fucking, antenna in the phone? Not really. So It's one of those things where I think fans feel entitled to certain things. And yes, they should know some of the things that are going on. Privy to some of that information because they are fans, because they are dishing out money for a creative venue.
I think it ends with the purchase of the item. Though you don't need to know the backstory on what editor got fired. The internet makes this stuff a lot easier to come across, and the dirty laundry gets aired everywhere, and everyone wants to know everything. And this is why people spend 90% of their time talking about things and 10% of their time actually experiencing the things they're talking about. And I'm guilty of this myself.
The 52 protest, right?
There's 9 people showed up to. In 9 people, I think it was like 15 or 16 people showed up to this, and they were all wearing alternate reality costumes, and that is just the funniest thing I've ever read. All those Jokers and Harley Quinns were not,
except for the guy in the Superman outfit.
Well, he was fine, but he was the only one.
Yeah.
So, whatever. Comic-Con. I think we're done talking about this. We've been recording for way too long, and we still have to talk some Captain America.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Any last words about Comic-Con, Brock? You want to go one of these days?
I'd like to go on a Wednesday preview night.
Go for the one day you can't actually buy a ticket for?
Yeah, the one day I can't actually buy a ticket for. So if somebody would let me be a guest, I would gladly like to go.
Speaking of rumors, there are a couple more rumors, and I don't want to propagate this any more than I already
propagate away, because the fanboys need some fuel for their fire, baby.
But everything I've heard is that dealers are only getting 1 badge next year. Not me, but people that have people that set up a con. You have to purchase the other badges because people were ordering as many badges as they could and selling them or giving them away. Pros, quote unquote, are only getting 1 badge. Prior to this, you could get 2 badges and 2 kids' badges, and they don't check those kids' badges, so you just give them to your friends. That's going to 1 badge. Rumor that I also heard is that when you buy a hotel at the pre-registration, 100% non-refundable, non-transferable, full deposit required the second you press submit on your hotel. So like when we went, I got a hotel, my girlfriend got a hotel, my employee Toby got a hotel, his friend got a hotel. Me and Leanne got the better hotels. I gave one of my hotels to Toby. They canceled their 2 hotels. Next year, we'd all have hotels prepaid for the whole length at the time of booking.
The thing is I understand that why they're doing that. Because
rumor. So this is not official.
Well, it's not official, but I can understand why the rumor's there. Because if people are doing these things, then
it's a ton of paperwork and waste of time.
Exactly. But it's not going to be. It's not that absolute thing where you pay up front for your ticket to San Diego Con, and then look, you have a heart attack and you're in a hospital. If that's not refunded, that looks really, really bad on the hotel.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where emergencies will still apply.
I'm sure.
But yeah. Anyway. Captain America. I saw it before you. What's up, man?
All right, so now that the hour and 23 minutes has gone by of us talking about Comic-Con, we're gonna
talk about the best comic book movie this summer.
We're gonna talk some Captain America here. Full spoilers. If you don't want to be spoiled, if you haven't seen the movie, stop listening now, and maybe fast forward to the last 5 minutes, and you can hear us.
Last 15 minutes.
All this pinballer stuff.
Can't close out a podcast.
Can't close the deal, Brock. Did I call you Block?
Yeah, I think you just did.
You're like Block from the Legion of Superheroes.
I think it's because my hair's a little weird.
You're not wearing a hat. Where's my Superman hat I got you?
It's at home.
Yeah, in the trash, probably.
I should. You didn't even get me a FlexFit hat.
It's the hat they give away.
I know.
I can actually spend money on you.
Yeah, I know. Dude,
that thing's awesome. Sell it on eBay. Probably get $20 for it.
Yeah, that's true.
I would have got you the Batman, but they were only giving those away as prizes, and I didn't win any prizes.
It's okay.
I got Brock a hat. He was a Superman hat. It's black. I thought he would have liked it.
I'll probably wear it.
Yeah, whatever. To my funeral.
Yeah. I'll throw it on your casket.
So full spoilers for Captain America. If you haven't seen this, go out and watch it. Join us next week if you have and you want to hear us talk about it. Here we go. Let's talk some Captain America.
That is it was the best comic book movie this year.
Not as good as Green Lantern, but
you're a dumbass. How can it not be better than Green Lantern?
Captain America was awesome.
No,
it was awesome. I mean, I would put Thor and Green Lantern about on par, and I would put this on par with X-Men First Class. I mean, Cap was awesome.
Yeah,
really good.
You and I are pretty much on the same page. This is probably the best one for me. Then X-Men, then Thor, and then way down at some abysmal bottom of the abyss is the Green Lantern film.
You know, I fired you, right? I mean, you're fired off this podcast and from the start.
How can I be fired for my opinion? You do realize that I can't really sue you because I'm not really employed.
You must follow the mantra that Green Lantern is the greatest thing of all time. So I don't want to hear this Marvel being better than DC shit.
What are you talking about?
What?
I'm not saying Marvel's better than DC. I'm saying Captain America the movie was a far better film than Green Lantern the movie.
Okay. Let's move on here. I don't want this argument. Let's go ahead.
So anyway,
it's good stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean in the film they covered Cap from the 40s. They covered Cap from the 80s. They covered Cap from the modern days, and they covered the Ultimate Cap and made him into.
Well, they hit basically every costume.
Yeah,
which is cool. A lot of people didn't like the musical number.
That was awesome.
That was awesome, and if you didn't like that, I think you need to.
This is the only time it works in a Marvel movie.
Exactly.
Spider-Man 3 doesn't work.
Like, you need to go back and look. That type of thing with, like, the tours for the war bonds, I mean, that's a real thing. I mean, this is what people would do. Yeah. Actors and actresses and famous people will come out and pimp for war bonds. I mean, this was a real thing.
Even soldiers were pulled off the line who received medals, were pulled off the line and, shipped back to America to go basically do these publicity drives.
Yeah. I mean, it was a huge thing during World War II, and so I mean, this was 100%. Well, I mean, I'm clearly not accurate because Captain America wasn't a thing, but I mean, very, very accurate to what would. I mean, to the best of my knowledge of what would have actually been going on during that time. Yep. So yeah, I mean, those are great scenes.
I liked how the comic book was in the film.
Yeah, that was cool. Nice little cameo.
On a newsstand.
Did you notice?
Pull them off.
I didn't catch this, but Tom Brevoort, one of the editors for Marvel, posted this on Twitter, and I never would have caught it. But Bucky's not on the cover.
He isn't?
No,
I didn't.
Because Bucky wouldn't. I mean, he was on the cover of the first one, but he wouldn't have been on the cover of this because he wasn't a kid.
Yeah, he wasn't.
So yeah. But that was cool. That was really neat.
But they actually brought the comic books to the forefront, like. You see the comic, you see people buying it, you see people picking up and reading it. It's
the other big Easter egg was. Did you catch the Human Torch?
Yes.
So you saw the Human Torch during the World's Fair. Yeah. So if you're watching this, there's a scene where they go to the World's Fair, and there's a man. It kind of looks like a mannequin or a robot, which it is a robot. In this glass tube, kind of in the front part of the screen, but they don't really they don't pay attention to it. They just sort of glance by it. That's the original Human Torch. That was actually the very first character created for Marvel Comics back in Marvel Comics #1 in 1939. I want to say something like that. I mean, it's post the other characters, but it was really cool. Cool little, just really super cool little cameo. Again, you never need to know it was there if you didn't. Just cool that this thing existed. 1938.
1938.
Yeah.
I think
this says 1939. Conflicting reports.
Yeah, it's Wikipedia. I think that this film really shows
October 1939.
Okay.
That's correct.
I think this film really shows how Marvel's...
Oh my god, there's a giant spider. Why does this ad have spiders? Oh my god, there's some weird ad on that page. Why do you not have ad blocker on your laptop, Brock?
What are you talking about?
There was some freaky ad that just popped up with all these spiders crawling over it. Ugh, I hate spiders.
Good to know.
Go ahead.
Anyway. I think that Captain America really shows how Marvel Studios has really stepped up their game in their films. I mean, especially with, Thor or even with, Iron Man and the Hulk movies, the second Hulk movie and Iron Man 2, where they've built on little things. You don't need to watch every little thing to get everything, but they build little things to kind of guide you to where you need to go. Like,
well, again, all the references in Captain America back to Thor.
Exactly, with the tree of the world.
Yeah.
The serpent wrapped around.
Right.
The cosmic cube was featured in this. So they did really do good job kind of connecting all these movies and giving us, the prep for the Avengers teaser trailer that we got at the end of the film.
The teaser was awesome. That was great.
It was amazing. I think, again, the same problem you have when you watch action movies. It's too fast sometimes.
Well, the problem with that teaser is they've only shot little bits and pieces of the movie so far, so there's not much to really see. I know that costume on Thor was kind of much more like the Ultimate Thor costume. Yeah. It was a bit different than the regular one. Cool to see Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. coming back.
Well, it's cool to see all of these characters, and they're going to be in the same film.
Yeah.
Right, because what did Iron Man introduce to us? Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D.
All right.
Right? What did Iron Man 2?
Widow.
And Black Widow. Right. Well, that's Iron Man 2.
Oh, that's Iron Man 2. Yeah.
And Iron Man 2 introduces us to Thor's hammer.
Right.
The Hulk movie introduces us to Tony Stark going out.
Right.
Not being in the same place.
Right.
Then you have, the Thor movie gives us the cosmic cube.
And Loki.
And Loki. And then the Cap movie basically kind of ties everything up and brings us to where we are now.
Backstory to the cosmic cube and everything.
Exactly. But not only that, I mean, Vigo, is it Vigo?
Vigo. He is the Vigo. Hugo Weaving?
Hugo Weaving, thank you.
Yeah, Hugo Weaving's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of my, just the stuff he did in Lord of the Rings and The Matrix, he is one of my favorite kind of like character actors. He did such a good job in that. There was a couple other people, Agent Carter, which is funny, she's Peggy Carter, not Sharon Carter.
It's not Sharon Carter because technically Sharon Carter is or Peggy Carter is her aunt.
Sharon Carter should be the main number 2 to Nick Fury in the Avengers movie.
Yeah.
So she should be in that.
But it's in the comic book isn't Sharon's aunt the one that Steve dated?
I don't know.
It was something.
That'd be kind of weird.
You haven't did you not read Brubaker's Run on Cap?
Yeah, I've read it. I just don't remember.
You just don't remember.
I don't remember that specifically. The guy that played Howard Stark, again, we're just going to be, if he had Tony Stark when he was really old, I guess you can make it work that it's his father.
It's his great-grandfather.
It's his father. Howard Stark is his father.
Howard Stark is his father?
Yes. It's just...
But it was Henry Stark. It wasn't Howard Stark.
No, that's Howard Stark is his father.
It was Howard Stark?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't Henry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's another character in there that I don't think a lot of people knew. What's his face? I'm looking at the IMDb here. He's played by Toby Jones. He was Arnim Zola. He was the doctor. He was Red Skull's little sidekick guy.
The monitor head?
Yeah. The second they called him Zola, I was like, oh, dude, it's Armin Zola. He's an old Captain America villain, and if you've ever seen the 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon with Krang, the guy he had the face in the robot's stomach. Armin, that's what Armin Zola looks like. He's an old Cap
But it was
villain.
a nice homage that they paid because the first time you see him, his face is in that mirror.
Yeah.
Where it's like this really big, and you're like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah, so Armin Zola, he's in his own stomach. He's in the stomach of this robot thing. There was a great little reference to Raiders of the Lost Ark, to Indiana Jones. At the very beginning, when Red Skull's while the Fuhrer is digging in the desert.
Oh yeah,
that's total Raiders. That was such a great line.
Yeah.
So, I was like, at first I was like, are they talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark? Are they talking about Indiana Jones? And they totally were. So yeah, what a great little line. So yeah, super cool.
Well, I liked how they brought in the commandos.
Yeah, Howling Commandos.
The Howling Commandos.
There's the guy that played, I'm not sure, I think was he in Band of Brothers? The guy that played Dum Dum Dugan? The Irish guy with the...
Yeah, he was in Band of Brothers. He was in Band of Brothers as one of the guys that's everybody looks up to, and then he breaks and goes crazy.
Yeah, because all the guys there that were his sort of his group of friends that he brought in as the Howling Commandos. They didn't name them.
I don't think they did. I think there was a reference. I don't remember if there was a reference or not.
Well, in the comics, Dum Dum Dugan, his phrase is "Wahoo!" He says it the first time when he first gets in the thing. That's the Howling Commandos call. That's what they say when they go into battle. Howling Commandos is an old Nick Fury in the Howling Commandos. Back when he was Sergeant Fury, it was an old war title, and then they rolled Nick Fury into the main Marvel Comics kind of continuity. So that's great. Again, another great reference to that. Ton of stuff that if you're a comic fan, a lot of stuff that you know.
Well, the thing is, they throw it in. It's really subtle. You know, it's not overbearing. You know, but it's just enough to kind of wet the palate and make you go, "Oh, that's awesome."
Yeah,
you know, which I think Marvel's been doing a lot. You know, they've done it a lot lately in their films and stuff, and it gives a good experience overall, not only for non-comic book fans but for fans in general, because you could spark somebody's interest just by saying, "Oh, the Infinity Gauntlet, what's that?"
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I would have liked to see a little more of the Nazi stuff. They kind of really downplay the Nazis and go much more for Hydra, which I'm fine with. But
I think I'm not too disappointed with them kind of merging Hydra with the Red Skull.
No, that's fine.
and downplaying the Nazism. It works.
I understand. They need to sort of be a little careful, you don't want to get too much.
Well, there's a few countries that only wanted the first Avenger. They didn't want Captain America on the movie poster, right?
Yeah.
No, and like some people were like, well, the movie just kind of does like, they don't really do any action. They just kind of blow up bases and then it goes. And I'm like, yeah, because the story is not about him blowing up the bases. It's about him getting to the Red Skull and him defeating the Red Skull. And
I mean, there is that quick kind of montage of him going around fighting a bunch of people, which that scene from the trailer, which is them kicking open the door and them bursting in with the guns blazing, that's a great scene. And it was kind of unfortunate that I was actually just a scene from the montage. I'd have loved to have seen that scene extended, because that door kick open scene and just the slow-mo and then just going in and shooting everything, great scene, but it went through pretty quickly. But,
the thing is it's a montage, so there could be more to it. I mean, this movie was 2 hours, just over 2 hours, like 2 hours and a minute.
Was it? Yeah. I mean, if I had any complaints, I would have liked to have seen maybe a slight bit more longer action sequences of him just going around kicking some ass. But as it was,
stuff like that.
I am,
throwing the shield stuff.
Yeah. Well, there was some great shield throw scenes in that. Again, maybe we're talking super minor issues, but they never really give you the, oh, I can throw this thing. He just sort of does it, and it works.
Does it, yeah.
But whatever. I'm fine with that. He was awesome.
Well, and the thing is that I think that, again, Marvel has learned their lesson throughout the years.
Sometimes less is more.
Yeah, sometimes less is more. Whereas, DC's just getting into the game with influence on the studio films. Because if you look at the big franchises for DC, I mean, it was Burton. Burton said, I'm doing Batman, and he did his Batman, Donner did his Superman. Right. Now, granted, the last two films in both of those franchises.
Well, the last 2.5 were not Donner, so.
Yeah, but that's the thing is just the franchises alone for Batman and Superman, the originals, it was the first two. Everyone remembers the first two.
Sure.
And it's the third and the fourth one that everyone's like, whatever.
Right.
But if you look at Nolan's Batman, Nolan's like, I'm making a Batman movie. I don't care what you think.
Right.
It's where it's where the studio starts to get involved, or where there's, the creative talent starts to be lessened, is when you have, problems that you get into with, pacing of a film, so on and so forth. Like, where does this go? We're just doing big bang, explosions.
Well, when you have to merge, like, all sorts of different story ideas and plots from all sorts of different people, you're going to end up getting into a real difficult part of, these don't really flow together very well, but we have to figure out how to get them to go together, so it's like, this doesn't work.
Yeah, but the thing is I think Marvel's had enough under their belt, to kind of know this process and stuff like that. Because the potential was there for Green Lantern.
Yeah.
It was there. I mean, we had some.
Well, like I said with the Green Lantern, it wasn't the home run that Iron Man was for DC. My hope is that they learn their lesson and can fix things for a more casual audience and make it work better for them with the upcoming movies. Kind of Superman, one of the announcements at Comic-Con, Superman got pushed back to 2013, which, we're looking 2014, 2015 before we get a JLA and other movies. I mean, that is not that far in the future, but it is a long time.
But, I mean,
if it
at
makes
that point, you're going to have Avengers 2.
Right. Marvel's going to already be 4 or 5 movies ahead of DC. I mean, if it can make the movies work well, that's fine. Maybe they're going for the double. Maybe they're going for Green Lantern 2 and Superman in 2013, Justice League and something else in 2014.
Do they actually think that model works, where Iron Man was such a hit and then we have to release a second film and then we can announce these other movies that are going to be released?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. Are you going to believe... This is my one question. Are you going to believe a Justice League that has a Batman based off of Nolan's Batman?
Well, it's not.
But in the continuity of Justice League?
It's not Nolan's Batman.
Okay.
Nolan's Batman is it. This is it. This is done. They're
Which
done.
I can't wait.
Oh, the new one, look. It'll be the best movie ever.
Nolan, you're an amazing individual.
It's gonna be hard to match Dark Knight. It's kind of like, that bar was raised so high that anything short of the best movie of all time is not going to succeed in beating it. So it's like, I'm kind of like, they posted some video of Tom Hardy. Someone leaked out some video. The pictures, I'm not looking at shit. I don't want to know anything.
Are you going to watch the trailer?
I will watch the officially released trailers.
This is like the 2-minute trailer.
Oh, I know if I've seen that.
There's a 2-minute trailer already?
There's like the teaser or whatever.
No, I'm saying like the 2-minute trailer. The official first trailer releases
I will
about 2
watch
minutes.
the officially released trailers up to probably 2 months before the movie comes out, and then I will be on total radio silence because what happened with Dark Knight is so much stuff got shown in advance, and I'm like, no, I don't want to see anything. I am going in totally cold to Batman Rise, to Dark Knight Rising. I don't want to know anything because it's like no. I don't want to see anything. I wish I hadn't watched the teaser from the bootleg because it's like you don't see anything in that. When I saw the high def version of that teaser, it's like, oh, this is so awesome. I don't want to know anything about it. I will not watch any bootleg stuff. No handheld cam shots. No backstage shots of them out of the costume. Nothing. I don't want to see any of it. I don't want to know any of it. I don't want to know anything. I'm not going to look at the books, not going to look at the comics, not going to look at the descriptions. Nothing.
So do you think from the success of Thor and Cap this summer, do you think we're going to see
2 Marvel movies a year?
2 Marvel movies a year?
Absolutely. Yeah. But the thing, and this is an issue as well. Thor and Cap did well.
Yeah.
They did not do gangbusters. They did not blow the doors off the barn. They did not do Dark Knight numbers. They did not do Avatar numbers. They did well. They did not do Iron Man numbers either. Keep that in mind. So they did well. If this is a strategy, if Marvel and Disney are okay with $250 million movies U.S. Or $200 million U.S. or whatever they're going to come out to be, cool. My concern is that if it's $1 billion worldwide or nothing, or we're not going to get that.
Yeah.
Especially with the price tickets going up. I don't know if you've read any of this stuff where 3D is way down this summer.
Yeah.
Tons of people are dropping off the 3D bandwagon. Thank Christ. Kill those things. Get rid of it. It doesn't do you any good. It's awful. I hate it.
I can tell everyone right now, you don't need to see Fright Night in 3D.
Well, I mean, at this point, we're a bottom of the barrel garbage movies coming out in 3D because that's the only way they're going to make their money, and I think it's just going to scare more people.
Now, I have a question. Do you think 3D has a market in porn?
Maybe. But again, those by the time those 3D TVs are available, they're going to be available because they're in discount bins and no one's going to want them.
Well, I mean, I have no interest in buying a 3D TV. I don't even have any interest in buying a stupid phone that can shoot in 3D.
Yeah. Someone showed me their phone. There was like, look, my phone took a picture of you in 3D, and I'm like, that looks awful. You know,
the best thing about the Nintendo 3DS, you could shut the 3D off.
I was going to say, again, we're talking Geekbox stuff here, but we'll go into the Nintendo 3DS because it has something to do with this. They dropped the price from $250 to $160. They said they cut their price by a huge amount, and they're basically saying, yeah, that whole 3D thing, you can totally ignore it. We're not going to use it.
Yeah.
They're already like, yeah, we're done with 3D. Forget it. It's done. Fortunately, since I already had a 3DS, I mean, I bought it because it was a DS, not because of the 3D.
Well, you needed a new DS.
Right, I needed a DS, and I'm like, well, I might as well just buy whatever the brand new one is. I can wait a few months for the 3DS. I mean, I never turn that 3D on, except for very rare occasions. And yeah, it's like, you know, I mean, well, cool, I get a bunch of free games because I bought the 3DS at a more expensive price, so it's like, that's fine. That's cool. I'll take that. But yeah, I mean, seeing people go away from the 3D, oh, thank God, because I hate it. Again, like I said, I thought the 3D in Green Lantern was halfway decent, but if it was a choice of 3D or no 3D, no 3D.
It's a movie. It's 2D.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be this 3D experience. It's a 2D experience. If I wanted a 3D experience, I'd be an extra.
Yeah. All right. Any last words about Captain America or Comic-Con?
I definitely go see Captain America in the theater.
Yeah.
Worth it.
Yeah.
Worth it for $6, $10, whatever.
I did catch it on the digital screen. I did not see. So I've been a big advocate of the digital projectors for the last basically decade. I saw Thor not on a digital screen. Real bad copy. I saw Cap, Green Lantern, Transformers 3. I've seen all the summer movies basically except for Thor on a digital screen. Beautiful. Cap looked amazing on a digital screen. Highly, highly recommend. Skip the regular, skip the 3D. Hit that digital screen. They're no more expensive. They cost the same amount of money, but find the ones with the digital projectors. Most theaters will show most new movies on both, or normal, digital, and 3D. Go to that digital screen. It is the best. It's bright. It's great. No little pops, no cracks. It's not dark. It's not 3D. Digital screen's incredible.
Yeah, but for those of you who want an actual film experience, go to the regular showing of film.
No. Go. These movies are made digitally. Go to the digital screen.
Yeah.
I mean, Thor looked awful when I saw it.
I don't doubt
it. Because it was on the
it's
print.
transferred to film. Yeah.
Right. I love film for old movies, but I've seen a couple movies at the smaller theaters where it's just film, and I'm like, this looks terrible because it's a digital print on a film. Yeah. And it does not translate well. Old movies on film look awesome because that's what they were shot on. New movies are shot digitally. Watch it on the digital screen. Yeah. It looks so much better. But, yeah. Damn. We're going in like 2 hours here, boss.
Sweet.
I think it's it's
random
hour and 45 minutes.
It's random comic pick time.
We gotta pick more. We gotta randomly pick comics this week.
Randomly pick comics this week.
Oh my! Do you have to pick 2 random comics because of?
No, you only have to pick 1 random comic.
Okay.
Go first.
Me? What the fuck? Actually,
why are you picking a single issue?
There was something I was looking.
Because you're starting to cheat and say it's like your pick.
There was something I was looking at. I'm trying to get up and look. What was I? Wait, why is my pick on Wonder Woman now? My pick should be on the Teen Titans issue with Superboy Prime.
Yeah, don't pick up that issue, please.
I was looking at.
Please use your wallet to explain that we don't need Superboy Prime.
I thought
ever.
There was something I was going to pick that came out this week for my random pick of the week, and I don't see it now, so I'm not sure what my pick was.
What was it, a Flashpoint mini?
No, the Flashpoint mini's been good.
Or was it Emerald Warrior? The Beast?
No. Those are just like fill-ins for now, right?
Yeah, which is part of my... I'll discuss this more next episode, but the fill-in time, it's getting to me.
Well, I mean, that's what's going to happen.
No, random pick. We're focusing here.
Okay, focusing on random pick. What have I been reading recently? I've been continuing the Legion of Superhero stuff. No. Brock showing me 7 Syllables of Victory, which I would love to randomly pick at some point, but not right now because I'd love to reread that actually and talk about that book more. That's an awesome book. I've actually been trying to catch up on all of the Paul Levitt's Legion of Superhero stuff, so I've been reading a bunch of that. I know it is getting kind of relaunched a tad when the new books come out in September, like relaunch number 12. But
which is why Paul said fuck.
Huh?
Which is why Paul said fuck.
Does he? Did he?
Yeah, he was. I guess can't do it the third time's a charm. He's like, every time I go to do the Legion, they reboot the shit. He's like, at this point in time,
look, whatever.
He can do whatever the hell he wants in the media. I got the whole fucking future in the universe to play around with.
Yeah.
So obviously Paul's a little irritated with this 52 thing.
Well, this is one of the issues that I had with it was that we may be losing Superboy again. We just got Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes back from the Jeff Johns arc from a little while ago, and we may be losing it again. Oh, I know what I can pick.
Oh, shit.
Because I just reread it on the plane to and from San Diego, as I reread Identity Crisis, the Brad Meltzer, Rags Morales 7-issue miniseries from a handful of years ago. Damn, that book is even better than I remember.
It's vicious.
It's so funny. This book gets thrown around a lot as sort of like the first big Dan Didio project. This is where modern fandom hates DC. The DC comics are all about raping women.
and not hiring them.
Yeah, raping women and not hiring them, apparently.
They must play a lot of Grand Theft Auto.
Identity Crisis, to me, was the book that... So I was a huge DC fan already at this point, but Identity Crisis was the book that really pushed me into the DC universe, like almost 100%. Like, I basically bought every single book after Identity Crisis, not specifically because of that title, but I was already so interested in so many books, and this was the first big, like, I don't want to say crossover, but the first big book that featured basically every DC title and character in some fashion or other. The DC had published for really quite some time. I mean, there were various crossovers in the 90s. There was DC 1 Million. There were various ones that kind of worked. But Identity Crisis was this big tonal shift to a lot of the DC titles. We got a lot of new books that launched around it or out of it. And it is, for my money, just one of the best comics I've read in the last decade. The subject matter is dark. I'm not going to get around that. The ending is maybe not the best. The rationale, the reason for the murder, the killer's motivation. Rereading it has been a while. It works for me better now than when I read it the first time. This is about the third time I've read it. I mean, I read it as it came out. I read it when the trade first came out, so it has been a number of years, and so I reread it last weekend. Reading it in one sitting, well, 2 sittings. Half there, half on the way back.
Well, yeah, it's only like a 45-minute flight.
Well, no, it's a little over an hour to San Diego because you still got to fly over LA.
Because you got to go fly up and then down.
Yeah. It does work better, I think, in one sitting than if you've only read the single issues. There have been some, and just also looking at the amount of changes that came to DC from this book. There is some it is a great little mystery. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you the ending's the best. It does work for what it does, and I think it makes sense. I don't want to spoil too much of it in case you have not read it, but there was maybe I will do a longer talk about this at some point, but there is a couple scenes. They could have added 1 or 2 flashback scenes that would have totally made the ending make perfect sense to everyone. Again, it makes sense to me because I knew about this stuff going prior to it. But for someone who's not familiar with Jean Loring, who is one of the main characters, with her backstory, if you're not really familiar with her backstory, they don't do a good job of explaining some things that have happened in the past. And that may be that's probably the only fault I have with it. The first issue is as amazing as now as it was when it came out. The fight with Deathstroke, where he just decimates the Justice League, is incredible. The setting up of Calculator is still... I mean, Calculator became one of the best characters in the DC universe. That came out of this. The resetting up of the Injustice League. I mean, all these books, the death of Captain Boomerang and bringing his son in. I mean, fantastic. All these things, they are so good. I love it. I love this book. I love this book more than most books that I've read in the last decade. Absolutely fantastic book. Controversial. Not everyone likes it. A lot of people really, really hate this book. I'm not one. So there you go. That was my pick.
I'm just going to say I agree with you. Identity Crisis is an amazing read, and it's a good.
And you've read lots of Brad Meltzer's novels since that, right?
Yes.
How do you feel they stand up to the novels?
Like his writing style?
I mean, just quality.
His novels, I would have to say, are far better than his comic books.
Sure.
But Identity Crisis...
You could flesh it out more.
Yeah. Identity Crisis is, like you said, an amazing, amazing read. There is a little bit lacking in the end, because I read it about 2-3 years ago now. But again, it was my first time reading it. But I kind of remember reading Identity Crisis and then reading 52... Like, there was to me, that kind of gave us this different look at the DC universe. It wasn't, look up in the sky, it's a bird in a plane.
Sure.
No, look in the buildings, look in, the streets, look in homes and all that. These are people, too. They have secret identities,
there was a very humanizing element to that book, that the DC universe, and I think this is, not to go too off topic here, but the Marvel movies versus the DC movies, Marvel tends to be the guy on the street, the human with the powers. DC tends to be about these amazing godlike characters. Mm-hmm. Identity Crisis really was a marvelizing or a humanizing of a lot of these amazingly powerful and godlike characters. So it was really interesting to see those characters brought down to a very, very human level. That's something you see more often in DC now because of this book.
Yeah, which, makes it an amazing read. I mean, I understand why some people didn't like it. Very dark material, very, very... It's not a happy book.
Right.
It's a very dark book. But, no, definitely have to have... That's definitely a topic episode.
What's your pick?
What's my pick? I'm going to pick Daytripper.
Let's clock this in. I thought you already picked Daytripper, didn't you?
I picked it for the episode that we never aired.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's clock this thing under 2 hours. Let's get this done.
Daytripper by Fabio Moon and Gabriel Ba.
Just won the
Eisner for Best Limited Series. One of my top Vertigo books for all time, especially this year. It's probably the best read I've had this year.
Nice. Or last year.
Last year, yeah.
Well, when did the trade come out, actually?
Trade came out this year.
Did it come out this year?
Yeah. Very well written. Art's amazing on it.
What's the elevator pitch?
The elevator pitch is basically you're following a guy who writes obituaries. He dies at certain points in his life. So each issue is him dying at a certain point in time in his life and what kind of the obituary would be, or what's the feeling. Like, he dies when he's in his 20s, or he dies when he's an old man, or he dies when he's a child. So you kind of get this... you kind of figure out who this person is in his many deaths throughout the 10-issue series, I believe it was.
Yeah, because I only read the first 2 and I went, this is really good. And then I need to pick up the trade.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, reading the single issues, you can read the single issues and it's a great story, but I think you'll get more in reading the trade overall.
They're all done in one issues, right? I mean, each issue is
one death. So you can read them single... Fine. You can pick up a Daytripper number 4, read it, and you've read a good comic book. But I would suggest reading it as a whole. I haven't yet read it as a whole. Yeah. I have the trade, but my list of trade reading is, a short box at the house. But definitely worth picking up. Yeah. Other than that,
cool.
2 great picks for the randoms.
All right.
Yeah.
Well. We're going to clock this in at, just 2 hours. What a long-ass episode. God, hopefully, unless something comes up, we shouldn't be missing any more weeks for the foreseeable future. It's been just kind of a little crazy around here, so hopefully we'll be back to our more kind of regular schedule. Yeah. If you like this episode, are we done?
Yeah.
This outro? Okay.
Outro time.
If you like this episode and you want to hear more episodes, you can go to www.geekbox.net, where you can find this show, as well as the Geekbox podcast, which I am on. Brock is on from time to time. Mm-hmm. You can go to forums.geekbox.net, and you can talk to us on the forums.
About,
comics,
DC
games,
not hiring females.
Movies, TV, random. You can talk about this podcast and every other episode. You can always find this podcast on iTunes. You can find it probably on other pod-catching software stuff, which I don't know if... Does anyone use anything other than iTunes these days? I got no idea.
I download on iTunes.
You can go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/thegeekbox. You can see this episode and other episodes of us and the Geekbox on there. The Comics Conspiracy store is also on Facebook, facebook.com/comicsconspiracy. I'm on Twitter, Ryan Higgins Ryan. You can tell me what an asshole I am and what a misogynist I am. Brock is not on the Twitter, but he has a blog. Yeah,
conspiratorbrock.blogspot.com.
He likes to blog random picks and random reading lists.
This last month, I think I hit 2,000 hits.
Nice.
Thanks for the hits, people. We're over 4,000.
Nice. Did you do any?
The weekend of the con.
Have you done any new any lists recently?
I've just been posting lists for like Preacher and Why, so everyone can see the
story arc titles.
The story arc titles and stuff. I haven't tackled X-Men yet, which I'm kind of like. Just read the Grant Morrison stuff and the bigger stuff. And this,
Yeah.
But no, I'm hopefully going to be working on something else soon.
Cool.
It's getting a little tricky to work on the long blogs, the long reading list, but I'm going to get some stuff. I did finish Vector, though. the Star Wars Vector story stuff. So I'll talk about that. I'm going to talk about that on the blog.
Cool. Yeah, we talk about some Star Wars stuff here too. So because I know they're launching some new titles, I do kind of want to start getting back into those because I have not read the Star Wars books for a while. So I want to maybe check out some of the new titles they got coming. So cool. All right, wow, we just passed the 2-hour mark. Let's shut this bad boy down.
Get out of here.
Yeah. It's 8:00 at night.
Yes, time does travel.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
We will see you all next week. You will hear us next week. We will not hear you. We will not see you. You will not see us unless you're...
We need to go back and listen to some old radio programming.
Unless you're peering at us.
How to talk to our listeners.
Unless you're peering at us through the front windows of Comic Conspiracy, which you are totally able to do if you want to come to 115-A East Fremont Avenue, Sunnyvale, California, 94087. Don't stare at us when we're recording. If you stare at us during business hours,
you can stare at us all you want if we're recording. They're just stare at you, not me.
You're more than welcome to come in and purchase some lovely comic books from us. We had a gentleman come in yesterday when I was trying to leave, and he stayed for like a half an hour taking pictures of stuff. And it was very frustrating. I was like, yeah, I don't care if you take a few pictures.
Yeah, I had a listener Thursday night.
Not a listener, no. This was a guy that was like, hey, can I take some pictures? Oh, I told him to come in and talk to you because he does tattoos. So I was like, yeah, come bother Brock and harass him.
Man, why you got to do that?
Because he's one of your people.
And if you're a friend of me on Facebook and anytime you see me raging on Facebook on a Thursday... Yeah.
You're not done. You're not working Thursdays anymore. You're almost done.
I'm almost done.
We have our new employee coming in, going to start working next week.
Our outros suck.
Yeah, Jesus.
Just cancel it. Just cut it right now. Just shut it off. Don't even say goodbye.